My name is Amanda and Happy New Year, guys! I just feel like 2015 is gonna be such an amazing year. So today I have my top 14 books of 2014 and there are loads of books to talk about today. I have read so many great books this year. This list was so hard to narrow down, but I finally managed to make a list of only 14 books. So this is gonna be a long video, so let's get started right away. I would love to know if you told me in the comments what the single best book you've read this year was and why. I mean, I would love to know. So my number 14th best book of this year was, without doubt, Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close by Jonathan Safran Foer, and I loved this book. It was truly an amazing book. At times it was hard to understand and I felt like I didn't really get the whole experience, but still I loved it so much. It was pure amazingness. And I read it during the Bookdepository and I really loved it. Moving on to number 14 on this list was a book I read very early this year, and that was Never Fade by Alexandra Bracken. And this is the second book in the Darkest Minds trilogy, which I love to pieces as well. This book was very dark and sad at times and heavy, but I just really liked that. It was one of the best things with this book, and it had awesome character development, and this book, it was really great. The next book on this list is no less than The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss, a huge chunk of a book, and it is fantasy and it is slow paced and it is just that perfect fantasyness that I just love so much. And the characters, they are really fantastic, and the story is just very detailed and very well explained, and the magic system is really cool. I can't wait to read the sequel, which I now own, so that is what I will be doing this year, and that is to read the sequel of the series. Can't wait for the third book to come out. The next book is also a fantasy book that was just a teeny tiny bit better than The Name of the Wind, and that was The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. And my god, guys, this book is truly amazing because the magic system is just the most the coolest magic system I've ever read about, and it's so detailed, and the plot is just really unique, I think. And it was both slow paced and fast paced, and it mixed them two very well. And I really enjoyed this book, and I can't wait to read the sequels. The next book is also a book that I read earlier this year, and that is The Archive by Victoria Schwab, and this book is a really unique book. The story is just so interesting and nothing I've ever read about before, and it deals with dead people and dead people waking up, and they need to be brought back by a keeper to the library where they are stored. And so unique, so cool. I really liked the action. It was really fast paced, and Victoria Schwab just has that addictiveness to her writing that I talk about a lot, that you just need to turn the next page, and I really enjoyed this book. Number 9 on this list is actually also a fantasy book because I love fantasy. It's one of my favorite genres. It is a huge chunk of a book as well, and it is of course A Clash of Kings by George R.R. Martin. And I know I said I would read all the books this year, but no, that didn't quite happen. But I read this one and I loved it to pieces. I mean, George R.R. Martin, he's the king of fantasy, and the Game of Thrones series is just amazing, and there's nothing bad I can say about this book except that it is maybe a bit too heavy, but I mean, more to love, right? The next book on the list is a book that I read very recently and that I really liked, and it is Everybody Sees the Ants by A.S. King, and this book was really, really beautifully written and so skillfully crafted. It was very skillfully crafted because she just wove in those important questions that makes you think into a really, really relatable story, and the characters were amazing, and this was definitely one of the best books of the entire year, and I just loved it. So moving on to number 7 of this list, and that is We Were Liars by E. Lockhart, and I know that very many people hyped this book up quite a bit when it was released. I didn't read it right then, but when I finally read it, I loved it. I know that many people thought that it was predictable, but I was so blown away by the big reveal. So yeah, I didn't know anything, and the writing, it was one of the most beautifully written books that I've ever encountered. I adored it, and I really felt for the characters, and once again the writing just was the best thing about this book because it was marvelous. Number 6 on this list goes to an entire series, and the first book I have lent out, but I have the other two, and it is The Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer, and oh my god, you guys, these books are amazing. This is one of my all-time favorite series. I can't wait for winter to come out this year, and I mean, the characters are just unique, the story is just unique, the plot is just so interesting, fast-paced, deep. Every good thing that you could say is to be applied to these books, because I mean, they got me out of reading slumps multiple times. They are just so enjoyable, so fantastic, so worth reading. So making number 5 of this list, yeah, we have now come to the top 5 of 2014, and these are some amazing books, you guys. So number 5, and I mean, these 5 were just they were unbelievably hard to place in this order, but I finally settled on this. And on number 5 I have Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Alaire Sands, and this book was just everything that you could dream of in a book. It is about friendship, and it is about finding out who you are, and it is about growing up, and the writing is beautiful. The characters are just the most beautiful characters I've ever read about in my entire life, and I cried, I laughed, and I love this book to pieces. It is such an amazing book, and everybody needs to read this because, hands down, one of the best books I've ever read in my entire life. Coming in at number 4 is another book that I have lent out to a friend, but it is such an amazing book, and it is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, and I just didn't think I would enjoy this book, but I ended up loving it to pieces because of the relatable characters and the really enjoyable story. Once again, it had you laughing, it had you crying, and the main character is just the most relatable character. I could see myself in her so much, and I'm so happy that I decided to pick this book up, even though I thought I wouldn't enjoy it, because it is an amazing book. Now we're moving into my top 3 books of this year, and also these were so hard to place, but this is also a series, and I haven't read the last one, but I need to get my hands on it. And it is The Immortal Rules and the Eternity Cure by Julie Kagawa, and this is a vampire, apocalyptic, dystopian series, and it is fantastic. I mean, I love vampires, and they are so well executed in these books, and these are probably my favorite vampire books of all time, or they are my favorite vampire books of all time, because the main character is an amazing main character. They are so action-packed, so fast-paced, and they are just awesome. And I have no idea why I haven't gotten my hands on the 3rd book, but that needs to happen soon, like ASAP. So the second best book I've read this year is also an amazing book. All these books I've mentioned are amazing, but number 2 is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, and this book came on the second place because of the amazing writing. The circus is just so beautifully described and the details are just amazing. It is very environment driven. Erin Morgenstern paints beautiful pictures inside your head and complements that with just amazing characters and a really interesting plot. But once again, it was the writing and the descriptions that made this book such an amazing book, and it was the second best book I've read this year, and I would recommend it to everyone out there. So here comes the big reveal, the best book of the entire year, and this was not an easy choice, but this book, it blew me away, and it is actually also a series, but mainly the third and second book, they were fantastic. Maybe you can guess. Crown of Midnight and Air of Fire by Sarah J. Maas. Amazing. I have no words left to describe these books because they are pure amazingness. I mean, Selena, the main character, is just the most awesome, kick-ass main character I've ever encountered, and these books are just fast-paced, but still they leave you thinking and you carry them with you for a long time after you finish them, and the series just gets better and better and better. And I must say, hands down, these two were the best books I've read this entire year, and that's about it. Whoa, that was a lot of books, but I mean, I've read 54 books this year. Narrowing that down to 14 was really hard, but I mean, these books, they are amazing, and I hope you pick up every single one of them because they are so worth reading. So once again, I hope you tell me your absolute favorite book of the year in the comment section below. I would love to know. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up because that would help me out a lot. Don't forget to subscribe. I think this is gonna be an amazing year. Have a good one. Bye.